Can you hear me all right? Does my hair look all right? I know.
Wasn't the patch on the other side?
Funny boys. Guys, I got to thank every one of you guys for coming today. It's a hoot, and it's an honor to get a chance to share with Jerry, and Chriso's done a great job chairing, and my little friend Tapers. I can't tell you how many people I talk to around the world because I've been out there on the podium so many times and just circulate just how many people, emails I get around the world who heard the message from the recorded tape world. I don't know how many gazillions of people. It's absolute cool to be a part of that, and I heard you on a tape, and I was in the North Sea on an oil rig and heard how cool is that? And it's like it's amazing. In 1987, after that stupid suicide attempt, and I ended up back in that room, and those guys qualified me. It was November 13th, 1987, and it was Friday the 13th, and 13 still my lucky number. And I hung around those rooms while these guys worked me through the steps. And one of the things that they did for me, I had a sponsor that was a little. This guy wasn't actually sponsoring me. He was just one of these old guys, one of the little deacons at the group, and he had them old readers, and he was looking over me. He said, Chris, he said, we need some help around here. Do you think you could come in and help us clean up tomorrow afternoon? And I was just like in my first few days there, and I said something like, well, I am the newcomer. Remember me? I'm the most important person here. And again, guys, I've been in AA for 7 years. I'm one of those guys that AA doesn't work, and because I've just been going to meetings instead of all three parts. And so I went. He said, Chris, here's the truth about that. You are the newcomer, and you are the most important person here. But you've been a taker all your life. He says, when are you going to give back? He says, let me explain something to you real quick, brother. He says, the sooner you start giving back to this world, putting something out into the universe other than your negative BS, the better things are going to get for you. I said, well, I'm not real sure. He said, look on the bottom of page 129. I had a book by this time. Because they cared enough to show me. Guys, I went around, I ain't kidding you guys, I went around looking for a big book. I told the guy I had a big book, and then I went and looked for a big book. I went to B. Dalton, remember when they had actual bookstores out there? I need a big book. Well, how big a book do you need? No, I don't know. I don't know that it's Alcoholics Anonymous. Y'all think it's a fact. And I went to the guy in a group and said, man, I'm trying to find a book. I don't have one. He says, I know. He said, come here. And I says, and he opened the closet, and there was 3 cases of the bastards in it. Rock on, $5. There you go. And we got to stop assuming that the newcomer knows the questions to ask. They don't. It's amazing to me how many people have been around this program for so many years and still don't understand what this is about. At the bottom of page 129, it's in a chapter called A Family After, which I didn't ever read for the longest because I don't have never mind. It doesn't apply to me. Some great stuff in there. Bottom paragraph. It's well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. Did I misread that? During those 129, bottom page. During those first days of convalescence. It didn't say after you've been sober a year. Guys, I got to tell you, we got way too many people. I'm going to go ahead and say it. We're going to go fast in this hour. I'm going to hit some high spots. I guarantee you probably some of you are going to get uncomfortable. We got way too many people in Alcoholics Anonymous telling the newcomer what they can't do instead of telling them what they can do. We got groups in Florida right now keeping people from halfway houses from coming to their meetings. You pull up in a van, they'll stop you and say, you can't come in here. And we wonder why our success rates are so low. Guys, we need every person out there in the trench with us today. Everybody. And it's a prevailing thread through this. Ebby gets with Bill Wilson. goes and finds him with a few weeks sober. It just boggles the mind. What happens if somebody told him, well, you can't work with an alcoholic until you've been sober a year? He goes, finds Bill Wilson. Bill Wilson, next couple of days, ends up back in Towns Hospital. He's been in the hospital 3 times before. He's left AMA all the time. He's never stayed through past detox. He gets detox, his ego rebuilds, it's time for him to go. He's never put any time under his belt. So consequently, he never had a chance to stay sober. Ebby, he's again there through detox. Ebby meets him, brings him some books to read, and starts working him through the 12 steps while he's in Towns Hospital. Guys, it's in Bill's story. You can read it. If you do some subsequent history I can show you to, he gets pretty clear here. He's on his 9th day in Towns Hospital, working on his amends list. He's already done a 3rd step, already done what will then become a 4th step. He's knocked that out, did a little 5th step with Eddie. 9th days in Towns Hospital when he has his barn-burning spiritual experience. Everybody thinks Bill Wilson had this experience, then worked the step. That's not how it worked. It's just like us in this room. We work the steps and have the subsequent spiritual experience. That's what the 12 steps are. Having had a spiritual experience as a result of the steps, this awakening, we tried to carry this message to the other alcoholics. Oh, that's Bill Wilson. It's okay that Dr. Bob took less than 2 weeks to work the steps, but you can take 9 months to do them. Why? Why are we allowing that to happen? The problem is that some people can do that. Either their illness hadn't progressed that far, or they're not even real alcoholics. They can take all the time they want. But the real alcoholic is not going to be able to stay sober. Here's what Bill says. One of my favorite places in the book, in case you lay awake at night, says, I wonder what Chris Raymer's favorite passage is in the big book. Here it is. Bottom of page 14, Ebby's working with him. And Bill's talking about his friend, Ebby Thatcher. He says, my friend emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others. Now, come on, guys. He didn't say, particularly was it imperative to make amends or do meditation or he says all of that's important, but the piece he wants us to see here, what's imperative that you don't have a choice around here is imperative to work with others as he'd worked with me. Faith without works was dead, he said, and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again, and if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that. Y'all get it? Bill Wilson's saying, those old timers in AA used to say, you got to give it away to keep it. Boy, true. The old timers said you got to give it away to get it. Did y'all get it? Bill Wilson early on, in the story about his meeting with Dr. Bob in Akron, y'all know the story, Mayflower Hotel, business deal gone bad. Bill Wilson didn't even have enough money in his pocket to pay this motel bill. When he finally hooked up with Henrietta Seiberling to get Dr. Bob's number, when he finally got hooked up, he had to walk from the hotel 4 miles to Henrietta Seiberling's house. He didn't have money for transportation. I mean, this guy was in a dark, scary place. 6 months sober. You can't sponsor till you're 5 years sober. Eat me. Shortly after this history-making conversation, I found myself in Akron, Ohio, on a business venture which promptly collapsed. Alone in town, I was scared to death of getting drunk. I was no longer a teacher or a preacher. I was an alcoholic who knew that he needed another alcoholic as much as the one could possibly need me. Driven by that urge, I was soon face to face with Dr. Bob. Did y'all get it? Bill Wilson realizes that he's on the shakiest of shaky grounds, and he needs to find a drunk to work with. Come on, well, how we've gotten so far off the page? You got people out there that have been sober forever and never sponsored anybody. And they're the first to tell the little newcomer coming in, you can't do anything. We got to stop. The best thing these guys did to me after they qualified me was give me a job in Alcoholics Anonymous. They said, Chris Raymer, buddy, we need some help. We got a group conscience. The next week I'm in there and says, we need a cleanup committee. We need somebody on the cleanup committee. And I said, buddy, I own a little business. It's bankrupt. Money. But I own it. It's my little screen print business up in North Texas. I'm working for my twin brother. But he said, but Chris, you had some catering business. You had some restaurant, but you could help us, spruce this place up a little bit. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, you're probably right. And I said, okay, damn it. And they gave me a key. I'm literally, guys, less than a week sober, and they give me a key to the little club there in Louisville. And I'm thinking, they know talent when they see one, I was a nervous wreck because the place got robbed not far after that, and there was this little slot where they put the money. Have you seen my wrists? And I thought, I'm going to get busted for this. They're going to call it. They're going to say I'm the one that stole that money. They opened the door and they said, Chris Raymer, meet Mr. Hoover. And there was a vacuum cleaner in there. Clean up. And on the next day, I took off work from early, and I got me a cup of coffee, and I got in there and I set that room up and I cleaned that bathroom. And come on, guys, I've been cleaning all my life. And I mean to tell you, as they was walking in the door, I'm sitting back there in that meeting room, and I've got my arms, and they, oh my God, look at this. Oh my, and that little lady came over, little old lady, and she says, oh my, did you do this? Come on, guys, I'm going to tell you what. It's been a long time since somebody had talked to me that way. Yeah, I did. You did such a good job. Thank you. Thank you. Less than a week away from a suicide attempt. The one thing I needed was some hope and some kind words. Not some idiot in my face telling me you can't do anything in Alcoholics Anonymous because you're not sober long enough. Again, I'm going to say, what is this about but our connection with God? Don't tell me who God's going to use and how He's going to use us. Come on, could I lead a workshop like this? Absolutely not. You can't teach what you haven't got. But see, our job is to make sure that you learn this stuff ASAP so you can teach it. We got way too many people sitting on the edge of that damn trench watching a few of us do the work. Quit. Jump in the trench or go to hell away. We're losing the battle. Actually, we're gaining on them, I think. We got more thumpers out there now than we've ever had. I want to show you. It's pretty cool. There's these guys. They worked me through the steps. This guy Don Smith. He's an absolute sweetheart. And he worked me through the steps. And pronto. Before I was halfway through, guys, we were practicing the disciplines of 10, 11, and there was a little guy that came in, and I was a cook, and this guy, and I shared something in the meeting about being a cook at one time, and this guy worked at a Waffle House, and because I like to watch them cook in Waffle Houses, and it was pretty cool, and so we were laughing after the meeting, and anyway, I get home with this girl, we're fixing to eat, she's we're dating, and it's fine, been a nice day. And all of a sudden the phone rings and she says, it's that guy at the meeting. And I'm saying, I'm not here. Been doing this for 7 years. I'm not me. She just looked at me. She'd been sober a long time. She just looked at me and she said, you're kidding, right? Of course you're here. Talk to him. And I talked to him on the phone. He's fixing to go to work. He's making the battle, just like Jerry talking about. He's got time to go get some booze, but he doesn't want to go get some booze. Do you think maybe you could come talk to me? Well, the Waffle House is like from here to the parking lot from where I live, literally. And I'm sitting, oh man, I got dinner on the table, girl, TV, a cat. Oh my God, I just hate them. Anyway, I said, yep, I'll be right there. I'll meet you there. I said something stupid like, you recognize me with a, never mind. Anyway, he didn't have any problem recognizing me. And I got in the car, drove over there 2 blocks a minute, but it was there. And on the way out, she threw me a book. She said, here, you might need this, and she threw it at me. Well, anyway, I go in there and we start talking about the program a little bit, and we started talking about cooking, and I go inside because I haven't eaten yet, and I get me some eggs, and I'm sitting there watching him cook, and we're talking about program stuff, and we're having a high old time. 2 hours later, I drive back home and this girl's freaking out. It's like, where in the hell have you been? What have you been doing? She knew we were out drinking. Just knew it. And I said, buddy, we just, we're talking some program, working with a drunk. And she said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because something's different. Guys, I've watched it. God, For 28 years, I've watched these guys come into these rooms busted up, looking at the ground. I can't do anything. And then one day you come see them at the club, and they got a couple of coffees, and they got some books open, and they're looking across the table at another drunk, and they're helping them with the steps, a few months sober. And I get to watch the change in their physical being because we allow them to do that. If they get in trouble, guys, what are they going to do? They're going to call me. Chris, this guy's asking me some questions. I don't understand. I don't know how to. Come on, let me help you. You're not doing this by yourself. None of us will ever do anything by ourselves again. Ever. This is a we deal. I get in trouble all the time. I call my sponsor. Buddy, I'm in the weeds here. What do I do? Come, let me help you. First time you sit and watch a guy that you're sponsoring do a third step prayer with one of his little knuckleheads. And they get up off that floor and hug each other's neck. And the guy says, okay, let's go smoke. And then I'm going to tell you how to do this fourth step. And you get to sit back and you get to look at that wall. We got the steps and the traditions on the wall, and we got pictures of Bill and Bob up there. And I get to start thinking, you know what? I get to be a part of that. Because it wasn't 6 months ago, I was doing the same thing. We got off the same concrete floor, saying that little prayer, and I gave him the information. Now he's giving this guy the information, and I get to look at Bill and Dr. Bob up there on the wall. Guys, y'all think about this. We celebrated 80 years last. 80 years we've been around. Less than a generation. Truly, we were dying in insane asylums. Mostly at our own hands. Most of alcoholics died by suicide in these facilities. And because Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob understood, were awake enough to see their marching orders. Perhaps I could help some other alcoholics. Because those guys got together in number 3 and number 4, because they didn't look the other way. I got mine. The miracles started taking place, and now we have millions of us sober. Because somebody gave a shit. Because somebody understood that the program was more than just a couple of little catchphrases and bumper stickers. Keep coming back. With each passing year, we increasingly realize the immense importance of adequately presenting the program in every new prospect who is the least inclined to listen. Many of us feel this is our greatest obligation to him, and our failure to do so, our greatest dereliction. The difference between a good approach and a bad one can mean life or death to those who seek our help. Bill Wilson, 1947. In the traditions, it gives us the 5th tradition, tells us we have one primary purpose. It's not the grapevine preamble, to stay sober. Our one primary purpose is to help a drunk. I help you, God will help me. I've never seen it fail. Those are our marching orders. But again, it's what we talked about earlier this morning. Don was talking about. We've gotten away. We start focusing on sobriety instead of talking about recovery. We let everybody off the hook. Everybody in this room gets to do this, folks. The cool part is we get to do it in our own way. We're going to follow the directions out of the book, but we're going to put our own personality to it. It's amazing to watch some of you guys and how God's going to use you in these rooms. Absolutely amazing. You're going to get on some rock solid ground. I was in a meeting when I got sober. Up on the very top it says, in order to do any 12-step work, you have to be at least a year sober. That was some sanctimonious SOB in a meeting. Wrote that up there. It's not based in any of the literature. In fact, it contradicts the literature. But he wrote it up there on the board because he felt that that was the important thing to do. There was an old boy in our AA group that, sorry brother. There was an old boy in our AA group that lied for me to go into a treatment center up in North Texas. He said, well, we need somebody to drive the bus. And I said, I'm not near sober enough to do that. How long you got? I said, I got about like a month and a half. He said, oh, that's plenty. We'll fix it. Because these old guys knew that if I didn't get out of my head for a few minutes, y'all understand, that was my job for a long time. Every Wednesday, I had that little bus and I was taking those kids to the meeting. It's funny. It's funny to watch and see what they would do. After they got to know me a little bit, what they'd do is we'd get to the meeting and says, Chris, do we have to go into that meeting? We got some questions we want to ask you. They're at a treatment center that was $40,000 a month. But they want to talk to little skinny one-eyed son bitch driving the bus. What's wrong with this picture? You know? Because I had a little big book under my arm and I could not talk enough about the power of God and how this was affecting my life. Y'all follow? Did I make mistakes? Yes. Did I get in over my head? Yeah. You just continue to talk to people, buddy, and you get more effective and you get better and you get better. The problem is that you're not going to do this perfect. You're never going to do it perfect. You just got to reach out there and try. I'll be supportive of anybody that wants to visit about that. I get the last little handout I got for you. I want to cover it with you. It's kind of funny. Mark and I used to laugh about it. We'd ask the newcomer, the book says, are you willing to go to any lengths? Y'all see where it reads on how it works, where it starts talking about, are you willing to go to any lengths? And I've never sat down with a newcomer that wanted to do the work that I say, are you willing to go to any length? Guys, I've asked that to hundreds of men, and I've never had one say no. I've never even had one pause to consider the question. Are you willing to go to any? Yes. You follow? The mistake we make is that we don't tell them what that's going to look like. And then when they crap out downstream, again, then we want to blame them because they didn't want it. I'm going to go in the door with somebody explaining to them what this is going to look like. This is a process. It's a procedure. We're going to get you from point A to point B really quick, but I want to let you know what it's going to look like. And then you can decide, you want to do this, you don't want to do it. I've had people walk away. That's way too aggressive for me. No, I'm not interested. Fine, bye-bye. Loser. Okay. You know, it's just not personal. It's just absolutely not personal. There's a pamphlet out there Bill Wilson wrote, Question and Answer on Sponsorship. It's not one of my favorite pamphlets because they don't include the steps, and they talk about getting sober without a spiritual solution, which makes my head spin when people start talking about that. But one of the things it says in there, in all work with a newcomer, the sponsor underscores the fact that it's the AA recovery program, not the sponsor's personality or position, that's important. Thus, the newcomer learns to lean on the program, not the sponsor. A sponsor who has truly been putting the program first will not take it as a personal insult if the newcomer decides to change sponsors or go to other AAs for additional guidance. That's pretty good. Because that's the way it is. I belong to Alcoholics Anonymous, folks. It's not just me and my sponsor. It's a whole bunch of friends out there I got married once and there was a 5-year-old stepson involved. Y'all with us? And I thought, I know exactly what to do. You just show them who's boss and then everything's cool. You know, I'd never had any kid. I know. 2 weeks after we were married, I'm in a fetal position underneath a garage, literally. And little bastard had pushed every button I had, and I like, oh my. And I'm calling every woman I know. You got any kids? Listen, can I talk to you for like a day? But I'm not doing it in my meetings. Y'all follow? That's not what we're there for. We're there to talk about God and the steps in my meeting. Thank God for the women in this program. Anyway, I got this little sheet, this willing to go to any length. And I suggest that you guys, we'll cover it real quick, it won't take that long, but I want you guys you could take this sheet and maybe you can customize it and maybe add some stuff on this and subtract some stuff on this. It's like, if you don't get a copy, I can Dropbox it to you, I can send it to you. Anyway, when I sit down with the guys, we start visiting about this. Now, if they've got a bunch of sobriety under their belt, this is not as important, but I'm talking about the brand new little squeaky guy. We're going to talk. I'm going to ask this guy if he's going to be willing to be qualified. Some folks do get here by mistake. Y'all follow? They really want to fight you if they're coming out of treatment. I know I'm an alcoholic. You can't even get a word in edgewise because I know. You sound like a minor bird. I know. If you know so much, okay. Because I want to find out if these little guys are alcoholics. I want to find out if they're little dope fiends. Y'all follow? We got a whole bunch of people dying out there in some of those other fellowships because they don't have enough people over there working. It's not about keeping people out of AA. Most of the little dope fiends that I know qualify for Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just my experience. I've seen it too many times. I want you to be willing to take the steps quickly. I'm going to tell you guys, this is a race. That window it may stay open for weeks, may stay open for months, but when that little knucklehead starts to close, you're going to get loaded. Unless I can get you on some strong spiritual ground, there's no human that can fix this problem. Everybody thinks we got plenty of time. I just don't understand where that rationale comes. Quickly, and again, It's negotiable. I don't mean you got to do it in an afternoon. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to go at a pretty good clip. This nonsense of taking 9 months to work the steps is utter ridiculous. Talking to a guy from New Jersey the other day. Well, we had the Jersey method. We were going to work 1 step a month. Buddy, that's just really cool. I would have died had I done that. That means in a year you can start working with others. I don't have time to do that. I got to go work with a drunk. Willing to attend specific meetings early on. Guys, if I'm working with you, I'm going to ask you to try to attend big book meetings, literature-based meetings. You can attend some of these other meetings, but I don't want you to make a steady diet of open discussion meetings. Y'all follow? Who's got the problem? If you leave and you got a problem, you may drink. Oh my God, triggers. Oh my, I got your trigger. Willing to attend specific meetings, big book meetings preferably. Y'all follow? I go to meetings. I'd like you to go to a meeting with me at least once a week so I can set an eye on you, so I can make sure you're okay. I sponsor a lot of long distance stuff, so that's sometimes not possible. But I want you to get a home group. It's so important, folks. We have a real problem in the guys in big cities jumping from one place to another. In a small little town like San Angelo and stuff, y'all got one group you go to or whatever. But in the big cities, they go, I got a group over here close to work, and I got a group at my house, and they flip around to different meetings, and nobody ever gets to know them. They come in wild-eyed, they're just crazy, and there's nobody to talk. Nobody knows them because they keep going around. I need to get to know you, and I want you to know us. So when the crazy stuff, if it starts happening to you, that there's some people that can love on you and make sure you're okay. There's something to be said for a home group. If you're not voting at a group conscience, you are not a member of a group. Just because you go all the time doesn't mean you're a member. Make sense, folks? It's amazing to me how many people don't go to group conscience. It's just breathtaking. We'll have 100 people at our Wednesday night Big Book meeting and group conscience. At our group, there'll be probably 60 people in there. It's pretty cool to watch. Never seen anything like it. Willing to focus on just the big book until the steps are done. Did y'all get that? I'm a 12 and 12 fan. I'm not a fan of doing both at the same time. If you read the 12 and 12, it was written 11 years after the big book was written, and it contradicts. Bill Wilson's up to his butt in therapy at the time. And y'all follow? I'll give you an example in the 4-step stuff. It starts talking about we need an asset list and a defect list. That's not what the big book says. I'm not worried about your assets, you sensitive little creature. You can stand in front of all the mirrors and do all the positive affirmations you want, but it ain't going to help. I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. No, you're a complete asshole. Let's move on. We're going to find that out if you'll finish this 4-step. Let's go. It'll confuse you if you're not careful. Having said that, I say it all over the world, and people come and say, well, how come you don't hate the 12 and 12? I don't hate the 12 and 12. I just don't want you to be confused. Make sense? I don't want you to read Living Sober. Oh, God, what a piece of trash. Oh, my God, what a piece of trash. If you want the history of that little deadly book that some of you I know like, if you want the history, Dropbox me and I'll send it to you. It's amazing to see what. There's never a mention in the steps in there, and they don't talk about God. That's what all the little atheists use. It's an absolute self-help program. This idea that I can keep myself sober, guys, if I could have done that, I would have done it long before I ever crawled in a dumpster in Houston, Texas. And we publish it. It's breathtaking. But I want you to read it after you're sober a while, so we can see what we're talking about. I want you to read all the AA literature. There's some great literature. The other day I was looking for something, and I looked at AA Comes of Age. I hadn't picked that volume up in ages, and I was sorting through it. I mean, guys, there's some fantastic stuff in that book. It's a compilation of some of Bill Wilson's writings. It is spectacular. Absolutely wonderful. And I want you to read it. After we get through the steps, let's read everything that we can possibly read. Number 5. I want you to absolutely promise me that you're going to be honest about everything. 3 places on that first page where it talks about how it works, in that one paragraph, it says if you have the ability to be honest, it mentions it 3 times, you can get sober. You don't have to be particularly bright. is walking testimony that you can get sober if you're not particularly bright. But if you can be honest, I ain't talking cash register honest. I'm being able one-on-one. I want to know, well, we talk about it all the time. Sex checks. I want to know about your relationship. I want to know about your finances. I don't need all the sordid details. Makes sense? If you're in debt, I need to know about it. As a sponsor, it's an outside issue. You can say, okay, I don't believe that. I believe if I'm going to walk hand in hand with you, shoulder to shoulder in this trench, we need to kind of know what's going on. I can't help you unless you tell me what's going on. One of the biggest problems I see out there in AA land today, and this may grind some of you, is the inability to get honest about your medications. I'm watching gazillions of people out there on medications, some of them quite doctor prescribed good medications. I'm not knocking medications, but I'm telling you, somebody needs to know that you're taking these medications so that if you have problems with those downstream, we know what's going on. I am watching literally hundreds and hundreds of people relapse because they stopped taking their antidepressants. I'm not against antidepressants. If you're on the damn things, that's great. But if you're on them, you got to stay on them until you get a doctor that can properly detox you off of them very gradually. Can y'all understand that? But if I don't know that, this guy's on antidepressants and I'm sponsoring him, but I don't know he's on antidepressants. So he comes in at a meeting 6 months from now and he's been doing great and all of a sudden he's insane. He's crazy. Most of the people that come off those pills too quick end up drinking or they end up in a psych ward. Not in a treatment center, in a psych ward. On a little 3-point tie down. It'll happen so fast it'll make your head swim. About 2 days after, they're insane. He comes in and he's crazy, and I know he's on these meds, and then I can see maybe there's a problem here. And then we can see. Y'all follow? It's called transparency. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to tell you not to take a pill, or you could. I'm not going to play that, but I have a right to know. I think. Okay. If you're going to take Suboxone or benzodiazepines, we're going to have a huge conversation. Because you can't stay sober on benzos. Not if you're a real McCoy, you can't. That's not Chris Raymer's opinion, that's an absolute fact. Bill Wilson understood it in the 1940s. He wrote articles specifically about that. If you can have a spiritual experience, because of a pill, you're not going to finish this work. I'll throw that out there to you. I want everybody. I'm practicing my moves. It's not every day I get the wireless mic. This is pretty good. I can jump around. I want everybody to be willing to be open-minded about anonymity. One of my biggest soapboxes out there, again, guys, is this thing about anonymity. If y'all ever get a chance, some of y'all, they've got a autobiography about Marty Mann out there. There was so much I thought I knew about Marty Mann, and I did not know about Marty Mann. She was a pretty spectacular woman, and she had so much trouble staying sober. She was in and out of the program for years. Everybody thinks she was sober forever. She was not. She struggled just like some of us in this room have struggled, and she was pretty bad. But one of the questions they asked her ages ago was, what's the biggest problem that you see about helping people get into treatment or helping people get into recovery? And she said point blank, she said stigma, stigma, stigma. One of the problems that we have is this anonymity thing. Alcoholics Anonymous is pretty clear in the traditions about being anonymous at the press, radio, and films. They're pretty specific about personalities, all of it. I'm with that. But guys, Dr. Bob wrote a bunch about it too. At a group level, for us to be anonymous with one another is pretty shady. And you're free to disagree. If you want to read that tradition, you could be as anonymous as you want. My problem is that some of us are so anonymous that we can't possibly help anybody. Make sense? Everybody out there knows who out there didn't know I was a drunk? I found out years later after I got sober, that November 13th, I'm tiptoeing in the back door of that AA meeting because I don't want anybody to see that I'm going back to Alcoholics Anonymous. Shit, Mom had me on the prayer list for 2 years up in North Texas. Every church in North Texas. She even looked at me one time. She said, you were even on the Catholic prayer list. Hot damn, Lois. It was pretty good. But come on, guys, all you had to do was look at my pickup and know that guy's a drunk. Oh my God. But we get sober and we want to be anonymous, you know. You want to get on my badminton. My name is Chris R. It's like, guys, I've used this term 3 or 4 times a day. This is the stuff that makes us look cultish. Y'all follow? My name is Chris R. and I have diabetes. What the what? Who cares? I understand 80 years ago there was some stigma with the women, stigma with the guys. I understand that. We're 80 years downstream, guys. Everybody knows somebody that's in this program. Everybody knows somebody that's having a drinking problem or a drugging problem. The sad part is there's so many people never get a chance to work with others because nobody knows you're in recovery. I'm not asking you to break your anonymity in AA. I'm asking you to break your anonymity that you're in recovery. Just consider it. The guys I'm sponsoring are not going to walk around using their last initial. They're just not. There's a lady in this cubicle right here, and her son overdosed and is in the hospital on life support. And 2 cubicles down, you're there. And you know people in those other fellowships, and you know people in recovery, and you know people that could help. And this lady would love to have somebody to lean on and talk to, but you're too big of a coward letting people know. Did I say that from the podium? Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm not going to not say it, but I apologize. Come on, guys, we got to stop. If y'all get a chance to look at Anonymous People, did y'all ever rent it? You can rent it. Netflix has got it now. Anonymous People was done by a young kid a few years back. It's about being in recovery and introducing yourself as recovered and coming out of the closet a bit. It's pretty cool. But there's black and whites of Senator Hughes standing in front of Congress. He's the guy that did the Hughes Act that allowed our industry, the treatment industry, to change completely. But he stands in front of Congress and introduces himself as a recovered alcoholic. It's pretty cool when people start. Marty Mann, Bill Wilson stood in the same rooms, introduced themselves as recovered alcoholics instead of tiptoeing around about this anonymity stuff. Y'all follow? They didn't say they were in AA, they said they were recovered. So people could come to them and get answers. Just saying. I have a tendency to beat that to death, but I want everybody to understand it. Willing to accept service commitments. Now, everybody that I sponsor within a few weeks, months, weeks, or got a service commitment. You with us? We got service junkies. We got the people out there picking up cigarette butts. We got the coffee makers. We got whatever. You find a job in AA and you'll stay. My experience. Y'all follow? Come on, guys. Some of you guys, it's all you darken the door, you go into a meeting, you share, and you leave, and you go home. That's fine. But the guys I'm sponsoring need to give back. And so they're not sober long enough maybe to sponsor somebody, but they're sober long enough to help us. Y'all with us? I sponsor Jim now. I work with him down up in the hills, and it's amazing to me. We go down there and have coffee, and he's putting pictures up and fixing stuff that I can't even begin to touch. And God, how cool to have a hand like that. That's being a responsible member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Some of you guys can balance a checkbook. Come on, guys, we need you. Help us with these stupid finances. Guys up there cooking food and helping us, volunteer, help. Your life will change because of it. I want you to be accountable in all 3 parts of the program. That's number 8. I want you to be accountable here. When I sit down and talk to you, I want you to know what I'm talking about because I'm going to go over this with you, this Recovery Unity service. I'm going to talk to you on a weekly basis, on a regular basis. I'm going to ask you, where are you at in the steps? Well, where are you at in the steps? You know where you're at. Stop trying to make excuses. Unity, what's your home group? I'm a member of another dope-related fellowship. I have a home group there, and I have a home group in Alcoholics Anonymous, Ingram Solution Group. There's no hesitancy about that. I'm a member. Service. How many guys are you sponsoring? We do a little group called Mad Dogs. Some of you guys have attended it. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like a little steel on steel, only we can do it with a whole room full of people. It's pretty cool. And all we're doing is basically this, some accountability. I am my brother's keeper. I'm going to help you stay on the path. You're going to help me stay on the path. We got way too many little things out there in AA land called unsigned death pacts. Y'all understand that? I'm going to be your friend. You're going to be my friend. You're not going to call me on my shit. I'm not going to call you in on your shit. Everything's just happy, happy, happy. I'll go to your funeral and you can come to mine. Yeah, it's nuts. And it takes courage. Y'all understand that? You hear some advice from one of these 35-year-old sober buckaroos in here, that's kind of like an honor. Thank you for sharing. You hear it from a guy that's 3 months sober. Well, who the hell do you think you are talking to me? He's a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, another brother on the path that has every right to hold you accountable. If he sees something stupid, thank you. Y'all understand that? You never know who God's going to use. Willing to be learn about the traditions. You got to sit through one of my lectures. That's all there is to it. We're going to sit and talk to you about the traditions. I want you to understand, not a year from now, today. Understand anonymity. Understand seventh tradition. Understand what we're our singleness of purpose. We got so many people out there pushing back. We need to understand what we're about. We're supposed to be all inclusive. Willing to follow suggestions about meeting etiquette. Woo. God, somewhere along the line we got away from that. You know, folks, them old timers, Chris, you can't wear that in here. Well, of course I can. No, you can't. Go home and change. I'm up there with a pot leaf on my shirt, you know. Come on, guys, dress appropriately. Y'all, it's just, I go to meetings with my wife. She's in the program too. I just absolutely love. We don't sit apart. I hear people all the time talk about it. You know, y'all need to go to different meetings. Why? We're not there to talk about each other in a stupid meeting. It's not a therapy group. What the fuck? What? We're not. We're going to sit together, you know. And I'm watching my guys, and she's watching my guys watch her girls. You know, she's fun. Every once in a while, she'll have one of the little girls come over like that. And I don't know. Everybody's staring at me tonight. I said, they are. That's a fact. Ladies, if you walk in the door and everybody stops talking and they're looking at you, something's wrong. I'm not telling you how to dress. I'm just saying. God. One of my guys was going to share it at a meeting the other day, and had a pair of cut-offs. Cut-offs. You know, it's like your parts are going to be hanging out. What? You know, and he got an old T-shirt on. I said, man, what? You don't have to put a suit on, for heaven's sakes, but why don't you tidy up a little bit before you... Dr. Bob says, carry the message, and if you must, use words. Y'all follow? I mean, try to be, Try to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to tell my guys about introducing themselves with more than one illness. Let me be the first to break this news to some of you folks. If you're an Alcoholics Anonymous, all we care about is, are you an alcoholic? We don't care if you are a bunch of other things. It doesn't really bother me, but some people it drives crazy, and they have every right to singleness of purpose. Nobody cares if you're an ANDA anything. I was talking to Beck earlier. When I was doing volunteer work for that treatment center back in the 80s, and these guys had come out and said, my name's Chris, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict and a compulsive gambler and a sex addict, and oh shit, there was one more, I forget. Oh my God. And then you would wonder, because nobody wanted to go have a hamburger with you after the meeting. Because you're evil, you're fruitcake. When I'm in DAA, I introduce myself as an addict. When I'm in AA, I introduce myself as an alcoholic. Don't say anything that's going to separate everybody else. It's just that simple. And the old timers will love you. Be careful about punctuality. Be careful about respect. Thank the speaker, even if you don't like the knucklehead. Just thank him. Thank the chairperson. You didn't have to do anything. Treatment centers are the worst. They load them up and quick, and they don't ever give a chance to, you got to be a part. Thank the people that set the food up and made the coffee. It's just... But I'm bummed. Don't cuss too much. I'm the kettle calling the pot black. I know. But oh my God, there's improvement. Okay, so let's just throw that out. Seventh tradition, we're going to make sure that you put some money in the basket. I'm going to say this again about tithing. I know that a lot of the little guys in halfway houses, they don't have a lot of money. But guys, if you can put 50 cents in the back, you got a $5 energy drink. And you're not, and the basket's passing you, and I'm watching. I'm going to have the conversation. So next time, buy a $3 energy drink and drop $1 in the basket. It's not so much that the club needs the money. We don't. I'll take care of it. I'll pay for it. I got a ton of money. I want your life to get better, and your life will only get better when you start contributing. You put the money in, and all of a sudden, it's not my club, it's your club. Y'all follow? It's like moving into an apartment. It's not your apartment until you clean the toilet. You clean this dang place, and all of a sudden, it's my apartment. It's the same thing with contributing. There's a spiritual thing about that. So we talked to them about that. We talked to them about going to Group C's. Guys, I want my guys to go to Group Conscience. I want them to see how this thing works. I want them to see how it works at the area district, the area level, the district level, the world. I want them to understand what a huge thing that they're a part of. It's the absolute best. Guys that I work with, I want you to be seriously, I'll talk to them seriously about health and exercise. Guys that I'm working with, guys are going to look at, they're taking vitamins, fish oil perhaps, I don't know. We'll talk about it, visit about it, but you're going to exercise. Guys that I sponsor are not going to sit on their butt. It's got nothing to do with being large or needing the exercise. It's about your head. Next time you're in a really, really bad, scary, dark spot, turn the TV off, because that's the first thing you got to do, and get outside and walk around the block. You don't have to run. Just get outside and walk around the block. And by the time you get back to your house, you will start noticing the nature and the weather and the clouds, and all of a sudden you're out of your head and you're seeing everything else around you. That's what this is about, folks. It's about starting to take care of yourself. We have not taken care of ourselves in all those years of drinking and doing stuff. It's not an option for folks. If you want your head to get clear, if you want that low-grade depression that so many people deal with, guys, it's an absolute fact. If you will get out and move, the depression will lessen. Even if you are clinically depressed, the depression will lessen if you'll get off your butt and actually get out there and move around some. That's why I ride bicycles. I'm fanatical about it. When I don't ride, I don't do real well. That's just it. So everybody find your own little niche. I'm not saying you got to go get a gym membership and buff up, although there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just about movement as much as you can, getting out. I want you guys to learn as much about the guys I'm working with, AA history, as much as possible. Guys, I just want you to understand what this is about and the piece of this that's so effective. It's amazing to watch. Y'all can add or subtract. It's pretty good stuff. When we do this, I ask these guys to look at this, and are you willing to do this? And they say yes, and we're gonna get after this. We're gonna go. And I have very few people crap out in the middle of it. Sometimes they do, but most of them they finish the work. I think it's really important that we look at the simple fact that Bill Wilson talks about in the Big Book. One of the things that we hit on a lot of times in our meetings, we don't chase drunks. If you're in trouble and you need some help and you want help, I'm for that. And I'm going to get your number, and you get my number, and we can visit. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to call you. I'm going to check on you. But guys, if he shows me by his actions that he doesn't want to do this, I'm so cool with that. I'm going to move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. That's what I'm going to do. Bill Wilson talks about it. We spend way too much time messing with some of these folks that are never going to get sober. Not with me. If I can't help you, maybe somebody else can. And that's what I don't believe in firing anybody. I did it one time and a guy died. And I felt really responsible. The truth of the matter is today I don't fire anybody, but I suggest very strongly that you might find somebody that would work with you better. Does that make sense? Not everybody can hear it from me. And maybe I need to flip them to somebody else that could be more effective with them. Either way, we're going to try to help you. But I only have one message to carry. And when I start watering that down so you could be comfortable in your own skin, I'm not doing you a service. So I do agree, guys, I need to say this. I said it earlier, guys sponsor guys, women sponsor women. I know there's some exceptions in here. I know some of you women that are being sponsored by men in here. That's fine. My deal is this. No matter what I do in Alcoholics Anonymous, no matter how above board and clean cut I try to stay, the minute I start sponsoring Pam, everybody in the place has got me sleeping with her. I'm not, but everybody's got me pegged. And when I come home 45 minutes late after the meeting because I'm working with her, and my wife's sitting there in the program, she's pissed. Nothing going on. Y'all, it's just I've seen one disaster after another disaster after another disaster. My problem is when I sponsor Pam, right? Yeah, and I'm depriving some other woman the opportunity of sponsoring her. Here I am. That's where my ego gets in the way. They can't find any women in certain groups, you can't find any women sponsors out there because the old-timers in the group are the ones doing all the sponsoring. It's how do you learn to sponsor? You sponsor. That's how you do it. I'm not saying you can't get guidance. Pam comes and talks to me all the time about it. No, she doesn't. But she probably should. I would be more than glad to sit and visit. But we're not. I just think it's a problem. I've watched a lot of people end up in trouble that way. It's just that simple. Oh, well, it was sponsored, and I didn't think everything was there, and all of a sudden, we're at the Motel 6, and it's like, oh, yeah, surprise, surprise. Who knew? Last one. Bill Wilson in 1965 is a great little grapevine. What will the ultimate result be if AA becomes too attractive? I love it. It's now felt that some people are joining our ranks not because they have a major drinking problem, but because our meetings are friendly, interesting, and informative. Will AAs degenerate into a social club and cease to be the last refuge of hope for the suffering alcoholic? Then we may find it too many enjoying AA and too few carrying the message to the suffering alcoholic. This was 6 years before Bill Wilson died. The month he passed away was the month I took my first drink. I've seen this so many times, guys. I was in Fort Worth, Florida. I had to do a talk down there, and we were at one of those big clubs down there. And the guys, we got coffee, and we're waiting for my gig to get up, and we're just sitting out there having coffee. And I'm watching this little guy, and he's sitting like back over here. The room's kind of divided like this, and there's a table full of old geezers, old timers. You can tell them they're all palling, talking golf, and just visiting and all this kind. And this little newcomer, something down there, and he's leaning over, he keeps scooting his chair down there. And a guy came in that was obviously knew this table full of people, and they asked this new guy to come sit with them. And this little guy sitting way over here by himself, that was me. That was me. All the years I did watching everybody else hooked up, having a good time, and I'm over there by myself, scared to death, not a part. About that time, one of the guys says, "Oh, that's our speaker. That's Chris Framer. That's the guy that's going to talk at the conference tonight." You know exactly what happened. I got up and dusted them sons of bitch. I walked right by him. I went over there and sat right there with this little guy. And this guy looked like a deer in a headlight. Like, what the hell? What? And I sat down with him. We started laughing. Y'all follow? He wasn't going to come to the conference because he didn't have any money. I do. Oh my God, look at this. I hooked his little ass up. He's laughing. We're having a good time. And these guys over here were just steaming, because I dusted them. Come sit with us. Absolutely not. Y'all understand that? Come on, guys. The deal today is not to stay sober one stupid day at a time. Exactly what Jerry said a minute ago. The deal today is to stay spiritually awake. You walk in a room and you're not looking for the little guy that's still suffering. You're missing what you're doing there. You're missing it. Guys, I'm capable of going to sleep. I've sat in my home group and just talked to the guys and watched the little newcomer come in and not say anything to him. I've done that. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's amazing to me who God's going to use. We just got to make sure that we understand what we're supposed to be doing here. There's I'm going to end with this. Get my glasses. I wonder if you could just staple these on. Do they sell contacts? Could you just get one contact? Shut up. Shut up. Y'all are so good. I worked at a place up in the hills for a whole bunch of years, and I go to a men's conference every year over in Lake Brownwood, man-to-man conference. When I have a work-related deal that conflicts sometimes, but I always try to go if I could. And I would never speak at that conference. I was there as a buddy, just as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of the guys that was in there was the father of a young man that we treated in treatment. He had passed away. And he gave me this little bookmark with a letter that this kid had written during one of his treatments. He'd been to multiple treatments. And Father was nice enough to give it to me. But in reading it, and I won't read the whole thing, I just want one little line, 2 little lines I want to read you. Because if there's a crux of this whole conversation about sponsorship, this is it. I hope to one day make you all proud that you have me in your lives. Maybe someday down the line, I can freely give to others which has been given to me. A little glimmer of hope and the prospect of never having to feel or live this way again. Thank you all. It was a nice little amends letter. Maybe one day, down the line, maybe I can help somebody. No. Now, today, tonight. This ridiculous place we've gotten ourselves in our fellowship, this stupid idea that we have plenty of time to do this, that maybe we're going to get good and then we can go help somebody. That's ridiculous, and that's why our memberships suck, and that's why we got so few people staying sober. In 1955, we had a success rate of 75% out there, absolutely documented on more than one platform. Today, it's less than 10%. Why? You're going to blame the addicts? You're going to blame the court papers? You're going to blame the treatment centers? No, it's because we as a fellowship have gotten away from the truth of what this is about. You get your butt in gear and get in the trench with us. And we're going to show you how to chair a meeting. We're going to show you how to be a greeter. We're going to show you how to answer the phones. We're going to show you how to finish this work so that you can have a spiritual experience and then we can go out there and kick some butt. It's by working with you that I get to stay sober. Not doing this one-on-one with the little knuckleheads in my meetings. This kid died because he was sitting on his ass waiting to be good. Listening to some old-timer in his face telling him he couldn't help anybody until he had a year sober. We got to stop this, folks. That's exactly contradictory to what the big book tells us to do. You stop worrying about if he's capable or not. Encourage him to do it. God's in charge. I'll be sitting at that stupid meeting. I've told this from the podium. I'll be sitting at that meeting. Jim knows right where I sit, back over in the corner so I can watch the whole damn room. Patty's sitting right here. And I'll share something in a meeting and I'll be sitting there and we'll do, the Lord's Prayer after, at our group we don't say, keep coming back, it works if they work. We say, stay. And I'm looking up and I see a little guy back there and he's been eyeballing me for 15 minutes. He's been, every time I look up, he's looking. I said, God dang, no. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to. Newcomer just came in off a bus and he's coming, right? He's making a beeline over. I'm looking over at Patty. I said, oh man, I got too many sponsors already. I don't have time for this kid. And she said, oh, it'll be okay like that. And this little guy comes like this, just gets out and pushes me aside. Pushes me aside like that to get to this kid right behind me. My little knucklehead that I'm sponsoring, right, sits behind me. I'm like that all the way. He's been kicking my chair all through the meeting, laughing, and just that. I shared and he shared. I thought, what the hell was wrong with it? I thought what I shared tonight was particularly pithy. I thought, I'm pissed that the guy, he dusted me, and he wants this little knucklehead back. That's how it works. That's how it works. I think that I got all the answers. It was what this kid said behind me that this little guy. My first meeting in 1987 after that suicide attempt, the guy that was chairing the meeting was 10 years sober. He's obviously a liar. Nobody can stay sober 10 years. I want to talk to the guy right across the deal that picked up one of them 90-day chips. What the hell is that about? You can stay sober 90 days? Out of treatment? No way. I want to hear what he's got to say. Make sense? I don't know who God's going to use. I don't have a clue. I just know that you need to be willing to do this. Say, God, show me somebody I can help at that meeting. And then be awake enough to see it when it happens. because the miracle comes by doing that. Everything that we talked about all day long is the culmination of the ability to go help another drunk. You don't have to work. They'll put yourself in a spot where the drunks are, and I guarantee you somebody will come up and talk to you. And it won't be one of those deals where, can you sponsor me? Oh, I don't know. Let me ask my sponsor. Please don't say that. Say, okay. Then go talk to your sponsor real quick, because your world is fixing to change completely. And that's what it's all about. It'll be the finest thing you'll ever come across. Guys, I got to tell you, this kid was a good kid, and I've watched thousands of people just like him that have come into our midst and left not hearing the solution, not getting the gift. We've got the talent in this room right now, to change the face of Alcoholics Anonymous. Everybody picks up the tools and gets out there and kicks some butt. If you ever need some help, you holler at us, guys. I pass these cards out, my cell phone number, my email address on there. If there's anything out there that y'all got questions about, history, any of this stuff, that's just, there's some great articles about real recovery out there. Y'all holler at me and I'll send them to you. And it has been an absolute honor to get a chance to spend time with you guys. I sure appreciate Jerry asking, and we'll see y'all soon. Thank you, buddy.